There we go. Here we go. Now we're on YouTube. And the infinite loop will begin now. Pop, 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 pop. Okay. So let's go back.
DirectFix.com presents
the iPhone 4S Take Apart Directions. Be sure to check us out on the web at directfix.com.
Oh, come on. Just thinking. Something
You might be wondering about the aspect ratio here. This isn't normal. This is being recorded on the same camera I recorded my first YouTube video on, a Canon GL1. And I made a lot more videos on that era, but most of them didn't wind up here on YouTube, like printer smashing. Back then, making videos for YouTube was a lot different. It was way better than the 90s when I had 2 VCRs and had to pause videotapes to make cuts, but even though cameras went digital, they still used tape. There was a fancy solution for that back then, but it cost like $1,000. It was called a memory recording unit. You plugged it into the FireWire port on your camera, or as Sony used to call it, iLink, and it would save DV footage straight to a compact flash card, similar to cameras today. So for this video, I'm going to try to bring back the spirit of these early mini DV camera days using this, a FireWire hat for the Raspberry Pi. But before we get there, I think I have to relive a little of the experience that was early YouTube. You'd record videos on tape, then plug the camera into your computer, assuming you had one with enough horsepower to edit video, then you'd play back footage and wait for it to dump into the hard drive. Then, using a fancy NLE,
yes. That was the horror.
Or nonlinear editor, you could chop together video clips like in iMovie or, in my case, Final Cut Express. Now, the crazy thing is, back in college when I made my first few videos, I couldn't afford any of this stuff. I used an older G4 model with barely enough hard drive space for 1 or 2 projects. And I didn't own this video camera, I had to borrow it. These things were expensive, almost $3,000 back then, which would be almost $6,000 today. But 20 years on, the complex tape mechanisms in these things are starting to break down. This one just barely works, and sometimes it'll just eject the tape without recording to it. So having a way to record externally, like with an MRU, would be huge. But even used, those things are still going for like $300 to $400 because of like skateboard and retro video enthusiasts. So I'll build a custom MRU using all new parts. Besides the Raspberry Pi, the most important part is this FireHat from Computer Equipment Group. It lets you plug in any FireWire device to this port here, and then you can use the simple controls on it to record video clips. This isn't the only DIY solution either. I first heard about FireWire on the Pi thanks to this project called OpenMRU. They both rely on the open source dvGrab software that runs on Linux. And if you want to build your own rig, like say if the FireHat isn't available, you can do that using the parts I link in the description, like this FireWire card with a PCI Express hat. Now, FireWire was basically Apple's baby. Even the iPod started shipping with it. They supported FireWire devices all the way up to the release of macOS Tahoe. But in a strange turn of events, Linux now actually supports one of Apple's standards better than Apple does. The current IEEE 1394 maintainer for the Linux kernel committed to supporting FireWire until 2029. Before we get to the Firehat though, I'm gonna see how the old tape workflow used to work. Then I'm gonna see if we can replace that with a Raspberry Pi using
Yeah, it was a challenge. It was. Now, you know, your phones do better than 90% of everything out there. You know, I can go and look up which when you look at a lot of and truly, yes, if you want to uh, see, this is always a good thing because you can go like this and see, of course, you know, these things there, pretty much your views are there. So
This is the Canon C100 Mark II cinema camera, and it came out in 2014 with a price tag of $5,500. Here in 2021, I was able to pick one up for $1,500. And in this video, we'll take a look at its features, check out image quality, and see if this 7-year-old camera is worth picking up today. This is my 4th video talking about older cinema cameras, and if you enjoy this kind of content, check out my other episodes and make sure you're subscribed because I have a lot more of these planned. While this is the Mark II, the original C100 was released in 2012 for $8,000. 2 years later, Canon released this Mark II with some subtle but much needed upgrades. The original C100 can be had for a steal at around $1,000, but I think paying a little more for the Mark II is totally worth it, and we'll cover this more later in the video. And if you want to completely waste some money, you can still buy this camera brand new for around $2,700, but please don't do that. Just buy it used because you can save a ton of money. The C100 Mark II sports a Super 35mm sensor with an EF mount and can record up to 1080p at 60 frames per second. While somewhat ugly, I've always loved the form factor of Canon's cinema cameras. These came out shortly.
and here's the thing about when they say the EF mount, this is the funniest part about cameras is that the lenses can be way more expensive than the camera ever is. And you're going, what? Yeah. Some of these lenses get way more expensive as you go up on the specs. And some of the specs go in reverse. of what you think. Because an aperture opening up to as much as it can is a lower number than the higher number. So it goes in complete reverse.
Shortly after the DSLR revolution took over, and you can tell, instead of the usual boxy shoulder-mounted body of traditional cinema cameras, Canon went with a tall,
Gotta go. Oh. Oh. Oh, God, that was so much needed. So much had to go and happen. Oh, that moment. But yes, the lenses can be a lot more expensive than even some of these cameras.
more compact body. This makes holding the camera in front of you easier, and with the help of the removable top and side handle, customizing your camera setup is easy and just feels good to use. The C100 Mark II has a really rugged flip out screen that flips all the way out, unlike the Mark I, and it has an improved display. So we're now using an OLED and it looks really good even here in 2021. And I absolutely love the addition of the joystick and the buttons below the monitor. I would love to see this added to more cameras in the future. It's great because your hand is right there changing settings that you're looking at on the same display. And it's super convenient when you flip the display forward because the joystick is reversed. So no longer reaching behind the camera, trying to change settings and everything's backward. Meanwhile, the EVF, while much better than the original C100, feels pretty dated, but still really helps in bright environments. On the back of the camera, you'll find two SD card slots with the usual dual record or relay modes. On the back, you'll also find the battery port, which can be powered all day with just 1 or 2 batteries. On the back, next to the side handle, we have our I/O, which include a headphone jack, remote and USB port, full-size HDMI, and a DC power input. Hidden on the right side of the camera, we also have a 3.5mm audio input. The camera is littered with big, beautiful buttons, many of which can be customized to do just about anything, including entering a custom user menu, which I would recommend setting up as things are a bit scattered in there. Next up, we have the oh so good built-in ND. You can darken the image by 2, 4, or 6 stops, and man, it is so hard to go back to using lens filters after having this feature. In the audio department, things are sounding pretty sweet with dual XLR jacks on the top handle, a ton of physical controls, and even even built-in scratch mics, which was a lot to ask for back in the day. The camera even has a 3.5mm input on the body for those times you remove the handle. So take that, Sony FX6. Audio quality is fine, but won't be as good as a dedicated external recorder. Next up, we have a feature that was very rare back when this camera came out, and that is pretty darn good autofocus for video. You can choose between continuous and one-shot focus.
You know, and that's something I'm just looking at for shits and gigs. Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, that is nice.
Attack. I would like to station security personnel on the surface for your protection. Now, I'm ordering you to drop your shields.
I'm sorry, sir, but the regulations are very specific. I can't do it. If you'd like, you can remain in orbit until we contact the Science Council. But we're experiencing some communication difficulties right now, so that...
This isn't working. They're delaying on purpose. Someone has warned them. Charge main disruptor array. Destroy the outpost.
No, there's no time for that. Starfleet will be here any minute.
What are you doing?
I'm configuring the disruptors to fire a phase resonant pulse. If I can hit their shield generator with precisely the right frequency, I should be able to take it out with one shot. Firing. The shields are down.
The artifact should be located in several small structures, arranged in staggered formations.
I'm scanning.
It's now we
And there it
is.
is. There it is. This is exactly what we said was going to happen if they push David Ellison. He is now threatening to pull Paramount out of California starting on October 1st if the states are refusing to negotiate. And this is after Gavin Newsom said, hey, you better negotiate with this guy.
Yeah, because he knew he was going to do this. And if they leave, that's a lot of money.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot of tax base. Why a lot of people are leaving the Hollywood system. You know, gonna make it hard for people to work. Oh yeah. Things you can't do. Oh, no, no, looking at some of the stuff.
More than 24 people are behind bars after a major drug bust in Hampden County. Operation Pinky Promise, a state-level wiretap investigation, has resulted in the arrest of 28 individuals and the seizure of narcotics and weapons.
Tonight, the district attorney is calling on the courts to do their part.
Hampden District Attorney Anthony Gallooni was visibly frustrated today, calling out what he sees as a severe lack of court accountability. He revealed that a majority of the 28 suspects already had pending drug and weapons cases, yet they were free on the streets. The operation all started with a single tragedy.
Yeah. Keep on protesting, no kings, doing all this other crap out there, not going and paying attention to the other shit that's going on. Having criminals cycle out people who have other things pending and they're still doing things.
The fatal overdose of a young man in South Hadley. Now, from there, the FBI's Western Massachusetts Gang Task Force, along with local police, unraveled a network of drug trafficking out of Holyoke, Chicopee, and Springfield. Hampden District Attorney Gallooni authorized the state wiretap that targeted repeat offenders who were allegedly distributing lethal pink fentanyl pills. Now, during the sweep, law enforcement seized more than 1 kilogram of cocaine.
Yay, cocaine! If you wanna get that. You know, that's just some of the things that go like this. I want to see this for a second.
We're going to build a homemade cooler that uses a small flame as its power source. Stay until the end of the video to see how we do it. Do not try to replicate what you will see in this video without the proper training or safety precautions. To make the condenser coil, we'll use a 1/4-inch copper tube, 1.2 meters long. We'll need this paint can to shape the coils. We'll make 3 elongated coils like this. And we'll cut off the excess tubing. This is how it should look. We'll continue building the evaporator. For this, we'll also use a 1/4-inch copper tube, 3.5 meters long. In this case, we'll use the same paint can, but we'll make the coil completely circular. This coil will be the part of the system responsible for generating cold. We'll bend the ends like this to connect them later. We're going to use this small piece of 3/8-inch copper tubing to make a check valve. This will be the charging valve for our cooling system. We'll remove the valve core so it doesn't burn when we solder it. We carefully unscrew it and remove it. Since this cooler uses a flame to operate, we must solder the joints by heating with MAPP gas and using copper and silver brazing filler rod. Once welded, we mark here. We drill with a small drill bit. And now we enlarge the hole with a 1/4-inch drill bit. We file down the burrs.
Yeah, this is getting it out too.
Now we're going to weld this small 1/4-inch tube into the hole.
Now remember, folks, don't use this as a top pipe.
The valve will be welded to this end of the evaporator coil. We cut this tube a little. With the drill and a countersink, we'll reshape the tube hole this way. This is a steel ball from a bearing. It measures 6 millimeters in diameter. It must sit perfectly on the tube hole. This valve will work as follows. It will help the gas to always flow in this direction. When the gas arrives from the evaporator, the pressure it generates will lift the ball and allow passage to the outlet tube. The gas cannot flow in the opposite direction because the ball will obstruct the passage to the evaporator. We weld here. And once welded, we check that the ball moves freely inside the check valve. With this piece of copper tubing, 22 millimeters in diameter and 100
Well, you gotta have the space for it to expand. That's what those
100 millimeters long will make the tank. We put these two caps on the ends. We need to make two holes. One here and the other here. We mark them and drill with a 1/4-inch drill bit. We remove the burrs from the holes. We have to empty any remaining shavings from the circuit. The tank is now ready to be soldered. We must insert the valve's outlet tube into this hole in the tank. We heat it with a torch. And we solder the cap and the valve tube. Now we place the condenser in position. And we solder it. Since the entire surface is quite burnt, we're going to polish it with very fine sandpaper. It looks very nice, doesn't it? Let me know in the comments if you like its appearance.
So yeah, I just want to know this is a
Now we bend the condenser tube like this. And the evaporator tube. And we align both tubes. This piece of tubing, 12 centimeters long, has a hole 0.6 millimeters in diameter. We'll make the capillary tube with this very thin tubing. We'll use a pen to shape it into a spiral. And bend the ends like this. It should look like this. Now we're going to connect it to the ends of the condenser and evaporator. We'll flatten the ends slightly to secure the capillary tube. Since it's such a thin tube, we need to be especially careful when soldering it so it doesn't melt. We'll polish the solder joints again, and our refrigeration circuit is finished. We've prepared this wooden base to mount it on. We'll screw this wooden support in place with these 2 screws. Is all we need to operate the system. Our refrigerator is now ready. It's very important that the tank is slightly tilted so that, as it heats up, the gas flows towards the condenser. This end is slightly higher. To test our cooler, we place and light the candle. As the gas heats up, it will generate more pressure within the system, which will push the ball down, preventing its passage. Therefore, the gas can only flow in this direction. It will pass through the condenser, and upon reaching the capillary tube, will undergo significant compression due to its narrowness. Upon reaching the evaporator, the gas will expand rapidly, causing intense cooling. The cold gas will then pass through the entire coil, and upon reaching the valve, it will push the ball upwards, allowing passage to the tank, where the cooling cycle will begin again. Today, we can see a similar system in refrigerators that run on butane or propane. In just 2 minutes, we can see frost forming in the circuit. It's real ice. Here you can see how it melts due to body heat. It generates an extreme cold of minus 17 degrees Celsius. And now for the final test. Will it cool a can of soda? We wait a few minutes while the cold takes effect.
That's going to help. I had to watch that. it's just always fun to go and watch a lot of this stuff. Personality. And of course, folks, I gotta get heading out on my day, and I hope you guys have a good one. Everything myself.